There's been a lot of conversation about the U.S.'s use of robotic weapons of war over the past few years, particularly our aerial drones and the use of them in other countries to take out suspected terrorists or sometimes the occasional wedding party. But the controversy is rapidly going international. Let's turn to Russia. They've got their Iron Man project and their Ivan the Terminator robots, which are still far behind our own technology of that sort. But they've got others, simpler, not as impressive to look at, but that they're already using in battlefields. And some of those might include the Uran-6, a remote-controlled landmine detonator, and the Uran-14 is a tank that puts out fires with a scorpion tail-like water blaster. Russia's also working on robots that kill, like the Uran-9, which fires 400 rounds per minute, as well as guided missiles and Platform M, which rolls around next to soldiers firing ammunition like a souped-up R2-D2. Thank you, Vocative, for painting a picture there. That is both a cool picture, and also I would be very careful if I was the Russian soldier next to it until they make sure that the firmware is nailed down and bug-free. But Russia is not the only country doing this. In addition to the U.S., you've got China and Japan and South Korea. Pretty much every advanced economy, every advanced military is starting to invest in robots, whether ground-based or air-based. We've got a quote from Peter W. Singer, who's a military think tank expert specifically focusing on emerging technology, who says that this is one of the bigger emerging technologies. He says there are nations and companies around the world all building this technology, all trying to get ahead. What we're seeing is the normalization of this. It used to be abnormal to see drones. There he's speaking about military expositions. Now it's utterly normal, and the same thing is happening to ground robotics. And so the US, Russia, China, all of our potential major allies and adversaries are all working on this, which leads to the question, what will be the impact of more and more countries sending robots into the battlefield to do their killing for them? And I don't have the answer here on Final Judgment today, but I am worried about it. We've talked before about the psychological impact of going up against not humans, but up against robots. If you're an occupying force, and the population there sees that they're being tracked and secured and in some cases killed by robots, by things from sci-fi movies, what effect will that have on them? We already know what effect using drones, we already know what effect having human soldiers will have. It's an independent variable that we don't have a solution for. If two militaries have advanced jets and they can send them into war and there's no human life at stake, how will that change the calculus to send those forces in? The same at sea, perhaps in land as well. Urban warfare has often been incredibly scary in the modern world because of the likelihood that you could lose a lot of soldiers in it. But if they're not humans, will we be more ready to engage in those sorts of conflicts? Will other countries be different? I don't have the answer for you. I'm not an expert on emerging technology, but I do know that war is scary enough without us being more psychologically ready to go into it. And the scariest thing of all to me is that as this big change is happening, our conversation is, as I alluded to in the intro, largely restrained to a little bit of conversation about the use of drones in the Middle East. And ground-based troops, I've never even heard our senators or congressmen talk about that. Does Obama give speeches about it? Do we know what the candidates on the Republican and Democratic side's positions are, let alone what politicians that are up and coming in other countries will think or do? Robots and drones are the future of warfare. There's no changing that so long as sending them in can save human lives. And it's about time we have a conversation as a nation and as a species about what that effect might actually lead to. And that's my final judgment.